I'm joined now by Colorado Governor Jared Polis here on behalf of the Harris-Walz campaign. Governor, thank you for being here. You recently said that Harris has moved to the center on economic issues. It seems like she's done that on a bunch of issues recently. What's driving that shift?
Well, look, I think it's a sign of a good leader that they learn and evolve over time. I think what's key with regard to economic issues is making sure that we have additional tax relief for most American families, especially those making under $400,000 a year, families making $50,000 a year, families making $200,000 a year. They're getting the short end of the stick. We need to reduce taxes. Her tax credit package does that. Whether it's a move to the middle, the left, the right, it's really about what works. Kamala Harris is a pragmatic leader who looks at data and science and makes the best decisions she can.
But is this an acknowledgement? Again, it's not just the economic issues; it's the border, it's energy. Is this an acknowledgement that the party had moved too far to the left? I mean, when she was running in that Democratic primary, the energy, it seemed to be, was with Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and candidates moved as far as they could to the progressive left. Did it go too far?
Well, look, the Democrats are a broad tent party, and they have people who are conservative, they have people who are liberal. What Kamala Harris has said, and I take her at her word, is she's going to be a leader for all Americans, a president for all Americans. And that means regardless of your ideology, there's going to be a place for your viewpoints and for hearing it out and for making the best decisions for everybody. And of course, Americans across the board want to have a secure border. Kamala Harris will work to deliver on that and secure the border. Americans across the board want to make sure we reduce the increase in prices that's been occurring. She has a very aggressive plan to do that. So again, she's going to lead in a way that really benefits every family around the kitchen table, helps grow our economy, and supports prosperity. And as she says, opportunity, the opportunity agenda across our country.
So let me ask you about an issue that unfortunately did not come up in the CNN interview. It's the issue of Medicare for All, which she favored. She didn't just favor it in the 2020 campaign. It seemed to me, a centerpiece of her campaign. Let's look back at what she said at the time.
I am proud to stand with my colleagues and friends and support Medicare for All. I strongly believe that we need to have Medicare for all. I support Medicare for all. I always have. I'm running for president to say we need Medicare for all.
So now her campaign says that her position on that has changed, that she no longer favors Medicare for all, which would be, government-run health insurance for everybody. Do you have a sense of why it changed? I mean, and does she need to explain that?
Well, look, as a basic value, should every American have access to health care? Absolutely. Almost every other wealthy country does that. We do it very poorly in our nation. People overpay for insurance. There's people that are still lack coverage. They don't get it through work. They make too much to get it through Medicaid. They're not old enough to get it for Medicare. And we can and we must do better. And that involves taking on the special interests, which she's done as Attorney General, which she's done as a senator. It means taking on the pharmaceutical industry, taking on the hospitals and providers, because we absolutely can do this better. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. I think she understands that Americans want to have their choice of health care. But can we do better and save people money on health care? Absolutely. And I expect that she'll be working hard to deliver real results so that people's monthly insurance premiums are lower and that the American people are able to afford health care.
But somewhere along the line, she, I guess, decided that eliminating private health insurance and replacing it with Medicare for everybody was the wrong approach?
Well, again, I think what she acknowledges is what most Americans acknowledge, is that there's not a one-size-fits-all solution for health care. This is a very challenging and vexing issue, right? It's not one that lends itself to a one-word answer. It's figuring out, of course, first and foremost, how Americans can save money with what they have. Most Americans have insurance. Are most Americans happy with insurance? Not necessarily. Many people feel they pay too much and they get fought over on the benefits. Can we do better? Does expanding Medicare as a role, letting people buy in at age 55 or 60? Yeah, these are ideas that should absolutely be on the table. Does negotiating for prescription drug rates, should that be on the table? Look, Americans are sick and tired of being ripped off and paying 5 times, 8 times as much for the exact same prescription drug that's available in Europe or Canada. We're sick and tired of that. We need to take on Big Pharma and make sure Americans get a reasonable price for prescription drugs that people need to stay healthy.
Another issue that didn't come up in the CNN interview is her now apparent support for, at least in some aspects, the border wall. I mean, we've seen in her ad on the border, she uses images of the border wall. She says she'll sign the Senate bill, which provided $650 million for more border wall construction. She had called previously the border wall a medieval vanity project and a stupid use of money that she vowed to block. So what's changed there?
Look, this is another issue that, as it gets into the public discourse, is very misleading. Democrats in general, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, have always been supportive of building barriers and walls for certain parts of the border as part of a comprehensive border security strategy.
Well, but wait a minute. She called
tech and monitoring.
I mean, she called the border wall a medieval vanity project, a stupid use of money, and said that she would block funding for it. So she wasn't talking about supporting, the wall.
That's true. The border wall that Donald Trump has proposed is a huge boondoggle and waste of taxpayer money. He effectively talked about a wall across the entire border rather than using barriers of different kinds effectively in a cost-effective manner, including imagery from satellites, including on-the-ground intel to secure and lock down the border. What Kamala Harris is for is securing it in the most cost-effective way possible to stop the illegal flow of people, of guns, of drugs across that southern border. And of course, Donald Trump's border wall would not work, would waste taxpayer money, and of course, barriers and walls are a part of the overall comprehensive strategy that Kamala Harris will deliver on to secure the southern border.
And let me just ask you quickly, another proposal that she's put out there is trying to make home ownership more affordable. One of the proposals is this $25,000 incentive for first-time home buyers. You have a big issue with affordability in Denver, of course. Do you think this would be an effective way, or could it possibly actually drive up costs further?
Well, it's part of Kamala Harris's overall strategy. So what she leads with, and we're strongly in agreement, and we're pushing for in Colorado, removing barriers that exist to building homes. She talks about 3 million new homes nationally as the goal. What bureaucracy can we get out of the way? What red tape can we eliminate? How can we make it easier to build the kinds of homes that people can afford, reducing red tape and legal costs? When we deliver on that, of course, it also makes sense to help people buy rather than rent, so that first-time home buyers, young people, can get into ownership, build wealth, build equity. It's part of that opportunity economy that she talks about. Rather than just have your paycheck go to rent every month, how can you build intergenerational wealth to be able to support your own retirement, perhaps your kids' college education?
All right, Governor Polis, thank you for joining this morning. Appreciate it.